Raw thoughts. Am I the only one who thought Ronda Rousey went overboard by beating up Kurt Angle with the Money in the Bank briefcase? I loved the intensity that Rousey showed when she confronted Alexa Bliss and attacked her, but Rousey's assault on Angle was a little much. I had no problem with Rousey hitting a judo move on her friend Angle as a hot-headed response to him trying to intervene, but repeatedly hitting him with the briefcase while he was defenseless was an odd choice creatively. It's not like Angle did anything to screw her over. I get it that WWE had to have Rousey do something egregious to warrant a suspension, but putting her hands on the Raw general manager at all and then beating up a bunch of referees would have sufficed. Beating on Angle made her less likable. Was stunned that Dolph Ziggler won the Intercontinental title from Seth Rollins. I had a feeling that Rollins was going to have a long reign as champion, especially after successfully defended the title against Elias the night before. I like Ziggler winning out of the blue, though, because WWE shows need some unpredictability on occasion. Rollins losing made sense because he had a grueling match at Money in the Bank while Ziggler had the night off. More Money in the Bank 2018 match grades. Fallout. What's next? What didn't make sense, however, was WWE booking Rollins to beat Elias by grabbing his pants. That's certainly not a good way for a babyface to win, and when Ziggler did the same thing to Rollins it came off as a case of Rollins getting a dose of his own medicine. Couldn't have agreed more when Michael Cole said, "Enough is enough," to describe the on-again, off-again friendship between Sasha Banks and Bayley. After their backstage brawl, I'd love to believe Banks and Bayley have finally split, but we've seen them fight before only to patch things up. Moreover, neither of them definitively turned heel. The only thing this storyline has accomplished has been to make both Banks and Bayley less likable and less over. Thought Bo Dallas was spot on with his impression of Bray Wyatt. If I didn't know better I'd think they were related or something. As for Curtis Axel's impression of Matt Hardy, I've seen better. Wondered why Constable Corbin wrestled in his clothes. He had time to change into his ring attire. Did he forget his gear? All kidding aside, it was a good night for Corbin, who scored the winning pinfall as he and Kevin Owens defeated Braun Strowman and Finn Balor. He's doing a good job in his role as Stephanie McMahon's surrogate and Kurt Angle's antagonist. Wondered if Bobby Lashley was the victim of an old-school rib. It looked to me as if Lashley had no eyebrows. There was a time in the wrestling business when it was not uncommon for a wrestler who had passed out from too much partying to wake up to learn that some of the boys had shaved off his eyebrows. Thought Mojo Rawley's upset win over No Way Jose was telegraphed by the way the announcers kept harping on Rawley's poor win-loss record. I'm not convinced Rawley's ever going to get over it, but I don't think it's a bad idea to give him an opportunity. SmackDown Live thoughts. Am I the only one who is intrigued by the prospect of a program between Daniel Bryan and the Bludgeon Brothers? If Bryan is going to feud with the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, he's obviously going to need a partner, so who will it be? My guess is Samoa Joe, who is without a dance partner. A significant segment of the audience cheers for Joe anyway, so a babyface turn isn't far-fetched. Plus, the Bludgeon Brothers have been plowing through their competition, and the dream team of Joe and Bryan certainly would be a formidable challenge for them. I envision a scenario in which Bryan is facing Joe in a rematch of their encounter in the Gauntlet match, and the Bludgeon Brothers interfere and attack Bryan again. Joe gets hot about them ruining his match, and they attack him as well. That leads to Bryan and Joe putting their differences aside to fight a common enemy. was pleasantly surprised that Rusev won the gauntlet match to earn a shot at WWE Champion at AJ Styles at Extreme Rules. Before the match began I thought The Miz would win, and I was even more convinced when it came down to Miz and Rusev. Kudos to WWE for giving Rusev a well-deserved opportunity. It's not like the setback will hurt Miz. I don't think Styles vs. Rusev will be anything more than a one-off, but it still elevates Rusev, which is something the audience has been telling WWE for some time that it wants. Is frustrated with how Asuka is being booked. I thought it was impossible to screw up Asuka, but Vince McMahon has pulled it off. It's clear that he just doesn't see her as special, which is both inexplicable and exasperating. Prematurely ending her undefeated streak a few months ago was bad enough, but the booking of Asuka's match against SmackDown Women's Champion Carmella at Money in the Bank was a travesty. More, getting a grip, recapping the biggest stories from wrestling this week. Asuka should have squashed Carmella, but instead she sold for most of the match and then did the job after James Ellsworth, dressed up in Asuka's ring attire and mask, made his return and distracted her. Asuka was made to look like an idiot as she just stood there staring at the imposter Asuka with her head tilted to the side like a perplexed dog, completely ignoring her opponent. One kick to the head later and the woman who went undefeated for 914 days had suffered her first pinfall loss in WWE. And to Carmella of all people. As for Ellsworth, his 15 minutes ended a long time ago. I'm amazed WWE brought back the chin challenge, go away heat magnet. I didn't think it was possible for me to be less enamored with Carmella as champion, but adding Ellsworth to her act did it. Thought Carmella and Raw Women's Champion Alexa Bliss basically cut the same promo? Both of them started out sincere and then revealed they didn't really mean it. It was lame for WWE to write material for them that was so similar. Moreover, heels doing that type of swerve promo in WWE has become a cliché. Thought Sanity's debut was well booked. When it was announced that Sanity's first match was against the Usos, my initial reaction was that it would be better for them to face lesser opponents, perhaps even a couple of jobbers, that they could destroy instead of starting with the top babyface team on the roster. As it turned out, Sanity attacked the Usos before the match and left them lying. That was more impactful than if they had won a squash match. Thought it was completely illogical for Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to get another shot at SmackDown Tag Team Champions the Bludgeon Brothers. Gallows and Anderson lost to the champions 2 days prior at Money in the Bank, and there was nothing controversial about the finish that would warrant a rematch. The announcers called the decision by SmackDown Live general manager Paige unconventional, so at least the powers that be acknowledged that it didn't make sense. Miscellaneous thought, am I the only one who was surprised to see that Triple H and The Undertaker will face each other at WWE's big show in Australia in October? Wasn't there Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 28 6 years ago billed as the end of an era? Then again, the main event that year between The Rock and John Cena was billed as once in a lifetime. They had a rematch at the following year's WrestleMania.